Hi there, welcome to this quick Minecraft video. Basically, I'm just going to be explaining the results of some research that I recently did in Minecraft on the average rate that you get diamonds when strip mining. So I play on a multiplayer server where we have sort of like a diamond-based economy. Everybody kind of sells wares in exchange for diamonds. And so one consideration there is that you have to obviously set your prices. Yeah, and so when you're setting prices, you kind of want to take into account how long it took you to get the thing that you're selling, and then kind of try and apply that to how many diamonds you think that time was worth. Sort of, that's one way to set prices anyway. So I was kind of curious, how much time mining one diamond really represents. So a friend of mine suggested that I conduct this study to basically just time myself mining for a bunch of hours and calculate what the average diamond yield is. And so yeah, I essentially decided to do that. So I mined for 8 hours, and the short answer is basically that I got about 145 diamonds per hour, or around 2.42 diamonds per minute, which is like way higher than I thought it was going to be. This is with Efficiency 5, Netherite, Fortune 3, all that. But I would encourage you to watch the rest of the video to kind of understand how I got to these numbers. So I guess the first question to address in terms of methodology is why strip mining, why not caving? And I guess the short answer is that strip mining is a lot more predictable. Everybody kind of strip mines in the same way, and over a long enough period of time, you're going to sort of start to see an average emerge of how frequently you find diamonds. Caving obviously is a lot more varied. It depends on like the size of the cave, the shape of the cave. Um, so I guess it would just take a much larger sample size to get a reliable average diamond yield from caving. And I guess a secondary reason that I didn't do caving is because there's a bit of debate right now over whether caving or strip mining is actually more efficient because, as you may know, ever since a recent update, I can't remember which one, diamond ore spawns a lot less frequently when it's exposed to air blocks. So that means that in caves, even though you're exposing many, many more blocks than you could ever expose while strip mining, those blocks have a lower chance of generating as diamond ore. I think it remains to be seen which of these effects is stronger and whether caving is more or less efficient than strip mining. And maybe that would be an interesting thing for somebody to do some research on in the future, but for the purposes of this experiment, I was solely doing strip mining. Right, so to continue methodology, the version that I was playing on is 1.21, but most of the terrain that I was mining in was first generated in 1.18. This is Java Edition, by the way. I don't think this should have a substantial effect on diamond rates compared to, like, if the terrain was generated in the current version. I think the only major difference is the deep dark biome was added after 1.18. And I mean, I can see how that might be like a hazardous biome to mine underneath, maybe because like a warden could shoot you. But I think you should be able to avoid it pretty easily, and the layer that I'm mining at, we'll see is far below like where ancient cities spawn. So I don't really know how much of an effect that would have, but I suspect it would be a pretty minor effect on diamond rates. And like I mentioned before, I was using a netherite pickaxe with efficiency 5 and fortune 3. The next part of methodology is the tunnel. I was using a 2x1 tunnel with no branches, and I'm going to head down to the mines to explain why I did it like that. Okay, here we are. We're down in the mines where it all happens. So basically, yeah, I used a 2x1 tunnel like this when I was mining, instead of a 1x1 tunnel, which is where you go like this. You mine down here, and then you like do some of this, and you get low, right? And then you mine like this. And so technically, this method is more efficient because every time you mine a block, you're exposing 5 new block faces, whereas when you mine 2x1, you're only exposing 4 with every block that you mine. So technically that is more efficient, but I decided to do it like this just because I prefer mining like this. I think it's less tedious than this. I don't like having to get into crouch position every time you hit like new ores or like a hazard or something. And further, I guess the main reason why I didn't do it like this is because I was conducting this research basically in the context of the economy on this server. And on this server, all of the economic participants mine with 2x1 tunnels. Nobody uses these, I think because they don't like them either. But yeah, also I didn't do any branch mining like this, where you go like out to the side every few blocks. I don't like doing this because it's less efficient. Because instead of exposing 4 new blocks every time you mine a block, when you do a block, actually it's kind of dark here. Let me get a torch. When you mine this block, um, if you count it, you're really only exposing 1, 2, 3 new block faces. For the first 2 blocks that you mine in your branch, and then the rest are the same. But you might as well just mine straightforward. I mean, it's more efficient. It's less brain power. You don't have to like count how many blocks you've mined. It just makes more sense, I think, in my eyes anyway. Yeah, so that brings us to the next part of methodology, which is the y level that I'm mining at. And I'm mining at y equals -58. I believe that this is probably the best diamond mining level. There doesn't really seem to be much consensus on this online, but I'll go through my reasoning, I guess, why I mine at this level. So basically, as you probably know, diamonds appear with greater frequency the lower down you are. So the lowest levels are going to have the most diamonds. However, I'm at -58 right now. If I go down 1 block to -59, you'll notice that the ground has bedrock. There's some bedrock in the ground. So essentially it makes sense to me that the lowest you can mine without reaching bedrock would be the best, the most efficient place to mine, and that's -58. I think there is an argument to be made that -57, which is 1 block above, is actually more efficient because this has, obviously a marginally less frequent diamond rate than -58, but you reduce the chance that you expose a diamond blob that extends down into a piece of bedrock, which obviously cannot be a diamond. So either -58 or -57 is probably the most efficient place, but either case, it's probably like a really negligible difference. But yeah, so I chose to mine at -58. So continuing on with methodology, come to technique. This is basically just how I was mining, and I guess there are a couple factors here to discuss that sort of increase the amount of time it took for me to mine, basically. So mining other ores, there are 4 other ores at -58 other than diamond. Those are redstone, lapis, gold, and iron. Of those 4 ores, I mined 2 of them. I mined redstone and lapis. Basically, the reasons for doing that were 1, to repair my pickaxe with XP, and further, I have gold and iron farms, so I didn't need those. And I think that mining some ores, but not all, kind of reflects the typical mining experience. Not everybody wants every type of ore, but most people want some ores. So that was kind of my thinking there. Further, I used torches. I didn't skimp on the lights, so that I guess makes up a small amount of time. Me stopping to place torches. I also used shulkers to store things, and that was included in the time as well. Me, placing shulkers down, filling them up, and breaking them. And then finally, I also obviously had to avoid lava. So whenever I hit lava, I would just change directions. But it takes a second to like see the lava and take a step back and like block it and mine in another direction. So I guess that would also have a minor effect on time. So basically, all of these things would have very minor effects on the time, but I think it's important to bring those up. Yeah, okay. Finally, for methodology, we've got timekeeping. So I was using essentially like a stopwatch um, to time myself while I was mining. I started the timer when I mined the first block at -58 and ended it when I mined the last block that I was going to mine at -58. So I didn't include travel time, and I paused the timer whenever I was doing something unrelated to Minecraft, like getting a glass of water or whatever. Um, I think it kind of speaks for itself, but I think probably the most notable thing here is that, obviously transit time is not included. So the figure that I gave at the beginning of the video, um, the caveat there is that it doesn't include the time taken to travel to the mine. And the reason I didn't include that was because that is going to vary a lot based on where you live, where your mine is, how long you mine for, like in a given trip. So there's kind of just too many variables there to really, bake that into the rate. But at the same time, like travel time, if you mine for an hour and it takes you like, a minute or two to get to the mine and then another, couple of minutes to get back, it's a non-zero amount of time, but it shouldn't be like a huge effect on the rate. I guess one final point to bring up with methodology is that I guess I didn't tell the whole story earlier. I was doing most of my mining with this Fortune 3 pickaxe. However, I did also have a Silk Touch pickaxe on my person, which I used to mine exclusively diamond ore. And the reason for that was so that I could more easily count how many diamond ore I had mined, which would allow me to get a more accurate figure, which I'll get into more in the next section. But just, yeah, so that, I was also like swapping between pickaxes very occasionally whenever I hit diamonds. So that brings us to the results of the experiment. So in total, I mined for 7.53 hours. This was over the course of a couple different mining trips, but that was the total time. This equates to 452 minutes. During that time, I mined 498 diamond ores. So I multiplied this out using 2.20, which is the average result, like the average number of diamonds you get when you mine diamond ore with Fortune 3. So multiplying that out, this should return about 1095.6 diamonds. This is the theoretical value. In reality, I got 1,114 diamonds, so it's honestly pretty close. But I decided to use the theoretical value in my calculations because it removes some of the randomness of Fortune 3. Yeah, so the calculation here, just dividing the number of diamonds by the time in minutes, we get 2.42 diamonds per minute, or 145 diamonds per hour, which, yeah, very, very high. And then I guess to kind of circle back to the original research question, which was how much time does one diamond represent? Like how much time working or mining, basically. And so we just get the inverse of our rate and find that it's 0.41 minutes, or just under 25 seconds of work. Okay, so we know that one diamond takes 25 seconds to mine, basically, in the late game. What are the implications of this? What use is this to us? I guess obviously if you're participating in a diamond economy, then that is a pretty relevant thing to know. But even if you aren't, I think it's probably good to know, roughly how efficient strip mining is. I guess a limitation of this research is that it doesn't tell us anything about how strip mining compares to other mining types. So I think that would be a pretty good area for some future research. If somebody wanted to kind of build on this, I think it might be useful to compare the rate of mining a 2x1 tunnel to the rate of mining in a 1x1 tunnel, for example. I guess it could also be useful looking into the yields of caving, although that I think would require like a much larger sample size than strip mining. But yeah, I think that kind of wraps up the video. To my knowledge, like I wasn't able to find any other research anybody had done on this topic. But if anybody knows of any research like this, I'd be interested to see, I guess, how similar their result is to the one that I got. Okay, that's the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.